I was standing outside the emergency room, my fingers blue and my breath coming in ragged gasps, when I realized I was going to die again. The irony wasn't lost on me. In my first life, I died at 23 from pneumonia that started as a simple cold. A cold I'd caught waiting 3 hours in the snow for my family to pick me up from the train station because they were too busy attending my sister's dance recital. In this life, I was 22, and here I was again. Hypothermic, lungs burning, because they'd left me waiting in the cold for her. But this time, I remembered. This time, I knew exactly what came next. And this time, I wasn't going to wait for them to choose me. I wasn't going to wait for anything ever again. The automatic doors slid open and a nurse rushed toward me, her face pale with concern. "Miss, are you... Oh my God, you're freezing. How long have you been outside?" 4 hours, I whispered, my voice hoarse. "Maybe 5. She wrapped a blanket around me and guided me inside, shouting orders to other staff. As warmth began to seep back into my body, I closed my eyes and let the memories wash over me, both sets of them, the life I was living now and the life I'd already lived once before. My name is Emma Chen, and I have died once and been reborn with all my memories intact. In my previous life, I was the eldest daughter of Michael and Susan Chen, successful real estate developers who'd built their empire from nothing. I had one younger sister, Lily, who was 5 years younger than me and the absolute center of our parents' universe. I didn't understand it at first, when I was young, why every recital, every achievement, every milestone of mine was met with distracted applause and a quick pivot to whatever Lily needed. I told myself it was because she was younger, that they were just making sure she didn't feel left out. But as I grew older, the pattern became impossible to ignore. When I won the state science fair at 16, they missed the ceremony because Lily had a last-minute audition for a community theater production. When I was accepted to MIT with a full scholarship, they took me out for a quick dinner at a chain restaurant, then spent the entire meal discussing whether Lily should attend the prestigious performing arts high school that cost $40,000 a year. She attended. I went to MIT. But I paid for my own textbooks, my own housing, my own food because MIT gave you a full ride, Emma. You don't need our help. Lily's school doesn't offer scholarships. I worked 3 jobs through college. I graduated with honors. I got a job at a top tech firm in Boston. And through it all, I kept waiting. Waiting for them to notice me. Waiting for them to be proud. Waiting for the moment when they'd finally see me as worthy of their attention. That moment never came. Instead, in my previous life, they'd asked me to come home for Lily's 21st birthday party. It was December and Boston had been hit with an early blizzard. I'd told them I wasn't sure I could make it, that the trains might not be running reliably. "Emma, please," my mother had said over the phone, her voice tight. "It's a milestone birthday. Lily specifically asked for you to be there." Lily had never specifically asked for me to be anywhere in her life, but I was so pathetically desperate for any scrap of inclusion that I'd believed it. I'd braved the storm, taken a train that got delayed multiple times, and finally arrived at our hometown station at 11 p.m., 3 hours later than scheduled. I'd called my father. He'd promised to pick me up. I waited in the cold. I called again. "Dad, I'm still at the station." "Oh, Emma, sorry, honey. We're still at the restaurant. Lily wanted to go to this new French place, and they're just bringing out the dessert course. Can you wait a bit?" I waited. Midnight came and went. My phone was dying. The station's indoor waiting area had closed. I huddled under the overhang, watching my breath form clouds in the frigid air. I called my mother. It went to voicemail. I called my father again. "Dad, I really need you to come get me. It's freezing." The thing is, Lily wants to go to this new nightclub that just opened, and it's in the opposite direction from the station. How about you take an Uber? We'll pay you back." There were no Ubers available. The storm had made driving treacherous. I waited until 2 a.m. when my phone finally died. I waited another hour thinking, surely they'd remember me eventually. By 4 a.m., I couldn't feel my feet. A police officer found me at dawn, barely conscious, and took me to the hospital. I spent 3 days in the ICU with severe hypothermia and frostbite. I lost 2 toes on my left foot. My family visited once, briefly, on day 2. Lily had been tired from her birthday celebrations. They couldn't stay long. I developed pneumonia 2 weeks later. My roommate found me collapsed in our apartment and called 911, but by then, my immune system had been too compromised by the hypothermia. I died on January 15th, 3 weeks after Lily's birthday party. My last thought had been, they never came. And then I woke up. I was 14 years old again, lying in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling with tears streaming down my face. It took me 3 days to accept that it was real, that I'd somehow been given another chance. But this time, I wasn't going to waste it waiting for love that would never come. In my previous life, I'd been brilliant but naive. I'd poured all my energy into trying to be good enough to earn my parents' attention, thinking that if I just achieved more, excelled more, proved myself more, they'd finally see me. This time, I understood the truth. It wasn't about what I did. They'd made their choice about who mattered long before I'd had any say in it. So, I made a different plan. At 14, I started documenting everything. Every time they missed, an event for me but attended one for Lily. Every time they gave her money and told me to be more independent. Every time they dismissed my accomplishments and celebrated hers. I became meticulous. I saved every email, every text message, every report card that came home praising my achievements. Achievements they never acknowledged. I recorded phone calls where I asked for help and was turned down because Lily needed something. I also started planning for my financial independence much earlier. I knew from my previous life that my parents would cut me off the moment I turned 18, claiming they needed all their resources for Lily's dreams. So, I started tutoring at 15, offering math and science help to wealthy kids in neighboring towns whose parents would pay premium rates. I saved every penny. By 16, I had $20,000 in a secret bank account my parents knew nothing about. I also made sure to maintain my excellent grades and extracurricular activities. Not for their approval this time, but because I knew these would be my ticket out. I got into MIT again, with the same full scholarship. This time, when they barely reacted to the news, I just smiled and thanked them quietly. I knew what was coming. I knew that in 6 years, when I was 22, they'd ask me to come home for Lily's 18th birthday party in mid-December. I knew they'd leave me waiting at the station. But this time, I was going to be ready. The years passed. I went to MIT. I worked, but only one job this time instead of 3, because I had my savings and because I was more strategic about what I needed. I excelled in my program, made connections, and most importantly, I started building something they knew nothing about. I'd majored in computer science in my previous life, but this time I double majored in computer science and business. I spent my summers not waiting tables, but working at startups, learning how companies were built and grown. By my junior year, I'd co-founded a small app development company with 2 of my classmates. The app was simple, a platform that helped people track family expenses and contributions, marketed toward adult children caring for aging parents. It was perfect for documenting who paid for what, who showed up when, who carried the actual burden of family care. It was inspired by my own life, of course, and it took off faster than I'd ever imagined. By my senior year, we had 2 million users and had been acquired by a major tech company for $30 million. My share as the co-founder and primary developer was $12 million. My parents had no idea. I'd hidden it all carefully. I still lived in a modest apartment, still dressed simply, still presented myself as their struggling student daughter who was doing fine, but not spectacularly. They never asked for details, and I never offered them. Lily, meanwhile, was living exactly the life she'd lived before. She'd gone to the expensive performing arts high school, funded entirely by our parents. She was talented, I'd give her that. Beautiful, charismatic, with a voice that could make people cry. But she was also spoiled, self-centered, and completely oblivious to the sacrifices our parents made for her, or more accurately, the sacrifices they demanded I make so she could have everything. She'd been accepted to a prestigious musical theater program in New York. Our parents had bought her an apartment in Manhattan. They were paying her full tuition, her living expenses, her voice lessons, her headshots, her everything. When I'd casually asked my mother if they might help me with a security deposit on a better apartment, I was still pretending to be their struggling daughter after all. She'd sighed and said, "Emma, you're so capable. You've always been able to figure things out. Lily needs us more." I'd smiled and said I understood. The turning point came exactly when I knew it would. It was December of my senior year. I was 22 years old, just like before. I'd graduated early and was supposedly still in Boston, working my first entry-level job at a tech company. My mother called. "Emma, sweetie, we need you to come home for Lily's 18th birthday." My heart was pounding, but my voice was calm. "When is it?" "December 20th. I know it's close to the holidays, but Lily really wants her big sister there." I almost laughed. Lily had never wanted me anywhere. "I'll try, Mom. The weather's supposed to be bad that week." "Oh, you'll figure it out. You always do." I hung up and sat in my apartment. Not the modest student housing I'd shown them in photos, but the luxury high-rise I actually lived in, and began the final phase of my plan. First, I hired a private investigator. I wanted to know everything about my family's finances, their business dealings, their relationships. What I found was illuminating. Chen Development, my parents' real estate company, was struggling. They'd overextended on several properties during the pandemic and were hemorrhaging money. They'd taken out loans against their personal assets. They were, in fact, on the verge of bankruptcy. But they were still funneling money to Lily, her apartment, her school, her lifestyle. They were drowning, and they were still choosing her over their own financial survival. It would have been sad if they'd shown me even a fraction of that loyalty. Second, I reached out to several of their major creditors through shell companies I'd established. I began quietly buying up their debt. It took most of November and early December, but by the time Lily's birthday approached, I owned 80% of my parents' business debt. They had no idea their daughter was now effectively their largest creditor. Third, and most importantly, I made my reservations. I booked a train ticket to my hometown for December 20th, just like before. I made sure my parents knew my arrival time. I even called my father to confirm he'd pick me up from the station. "Of course, sweetheart," he said absently. "See you then." But this time, I also booked a luxury car service to pick me up exactly 30 minutes after my train arrived, and I rented a suite at the nicest hotel in town, the same hotel where Lily's birthday dinner would be held. I wanted to be there. I wanted to watch. But I wasn't going to wait in the cold for them ever again. The day arrived. The weather was exactly as I remembered it. A brutal winter storm that made travel treacherous. My train was delayed by hours, just like before. I sat in first class, comfortable and warm, tracking my family's movements through the location-sharing app my mother had insisted we all use for safety. I watched as they went to the restaurant at 8 p.m. I watched as they stayed there, hour after hour, celebrating Lily. My train finally arrived at the station at 11 p.m. I stepped out into the freezing cold, and for just a moment, I let myself feel it. The bite of the wind, the sting of the snow against my face. Then I walked to the heated waiting area and called my father. "Hi, Dad, I'm here at the station." "Oh, Emma, sorry, honey, we're still at dinner. Can you wait a bit?" "Sure, Dad, how long do you think?" "Oh, maybe an hour. Lily's having such a good time." "Okay, I'll wait." I hung up and smiled. Then I called my car service. "I'm ready for pickup." The heated Mercedes arrived within 3 minutes. I settled into the plush back seat and instructed the driver to take me to my hotel. On the way, I called my father again. "Hey, Dad, just checking in. Still at dinner?" "Yes, sorry. Actually, Lily wants to go to this new club, and it's kind of in the opposite direction. Can you maybe take an Uber?" "There are no Ubers available, Dad. The storm is too bad." "Oh, well, can you wait a bit longer? We'll come eventually." "How long is a bit longer?" "Maybe a few more hours." "Emma, don't be difficult. It's Lily's birthday." "I see. Okay, Dad." I hung up and took a screenshot of the call log. Then I posted it to my social media, a small private account I'd created specifically for this purpose, with a carefully curated audience of extended family members, family friends, and some of my parents' business associates. "Stranded at the train station in a blizzard," I wrote. "Called Dad for a ride. He told me to wait because they're at my sister's birthday dinner. It's been 2 hours in below freezing weather. Family first and priorities." I attached the screenshot. Then I posted a photo of myself from the train station. I'd had my driver wait while I stepped out briefly for the shot. I looked cold, miserable, and very much abandoned. Within minutes, comments started flooding in. Emma, are you serious? Call me, I'll come get you. Aunt Jennifer. This is unacceptable. I'm calling your mother. Family friend Patricia. You're still there? It's been hours. Cousin Marcus. I didn't respond. Instead, I went to my hotel, took a long hot shower, and put on the designer dress I'd brought for the occasion. Then I went downstairs to the hotel restaurant, the expensive one where my family was celebrating. I arrived at 1 a.m. The party was still going strong. I could see them through the windows of the private dining room they'd rented. My mother, my father, Lily in a glittering gold dress, and about 30 of their closest friends and family. None of them had even thought to check if I'd made it out of the cold. I walked into the restaurant and approached the maitre d'. Excuse me, I believe my family has a reservation here? The Chen party? Ah, yes, you must be the sister. They mentioned you might be joining them. They did? I smiled sweetly. How thoughtful. Actually, I'd like to send some champagne to their table. The best you have. Put it on my card. I handed him my Black American Express card. His eyebrows rose slightly. Of course, Miss Chen, right away. I waited at the bar, sipping a cocktail as the champagne was delivered. Through the glass, I could see my mother's confusion, then her pull out her phone. My phone buzzed. Emma, where are you? Did you send us champagne? I texted back. I'm at the bar, made it safe, no thanks to you. Thought I'd celebrate Lily's birthday from here since I wasn't actually invited to the party. 3 minutes later, my mother rushed out, my father close behind. Lily followed, looking annoyed at having her spotlight interrupted. Emma! My mother's face was flushed. Whether from champagne or embarrassment, I couldn't tell. Why didn't you call again? We would have come to get you. I did call again, Mom, 3 times. Dad told me to wait because Lily wanted to go clubbing after dinner. My father had the grace to look uncomfortable. Well, you made it here safely, so no thanks to you. I set down my cocktail. I took a car service. Cost me $300 in surge pricing because of the storm. Oh, well, we'll pay you back, my mother said quickly, reaching for her purse. Don't bother. I waved her off. I can afford it. I just wanted to make sure I was here for Lily's special day. I turned to my sister, who was texting on her phone, barely paying attention. Happy birthday, Lily. She glanced up. Oh, thanks. Did you bring a gift? In my previous life, I'd have stammered an apology, explained that I'd left it at the station, promised to mail it. This time, I just smiled. I did, actually, but I think I'll save it for later. It's more of a family gift anyway. My mother looked relieved that I wasn't making a scene. Why don't you join us for dessert? We're about to cut the cake. No, thank you. I'm exhausted from being stranded in a blizzard for 4 hours. I'm going to bed. I stood up. I have a suite upstairs. Room 247 if you need me, though I'm sure you won't. I left before they could respond, and I didn't look back. The next morning, I woke to my phone exploding, with notifications. My social media post had been shared widely among our extended family and my parents' social circle. The comments were damning. I can't believe Michael and Susan did this to their own daughter. 4 hours in a blizzard? She could have died. This is the same daughter who put herself through MIT, right? While they bought Lily an apartment in Manhattan? I always knew they played favorites, but this is abuse. My aunt had called my mother furious. Several of my parents' friends had as well. My father's business partner had apparently seen the post and sent a concerned email asking if everything was all right at home. At 10 a.m., my mother called me. Emma, we need to talk. Can you come to the house? I'm busy today, Mom. Emma, this is important. You've embarrassed us in front of our friends. I embarrassed you? I posted the truth. You made us look like terrible parents. Did I? Or did you just make yourselves look like terrible parents by leaving me stranded in a blizzard? There was a long silence, then, just come to the house, please. I went, but I went on my terms, in my own car, ready to leave whenever I wanted. The house looked the same as always, the large colonial where I'd grown up, beautifully decorated for Christmas. Lily's photos covered every surface. Mine appeared in exactly 3 frames, all from when I was very young. My parents sat in the living room looking tired. Lily was still asleep upstairs, apparently. "Emma," my father began, "we owe you an apology." "You do?" "We got caught up in the celebration and we lost track of time. We never meant to leave you stranded like that. For 4 hours, in below freezing weather, during a blizzard." My mother twisted her hands. "We know, sweetie. We're sorry. It won't happen again." "You're right. It won't, because I'm not waiting for you anymore." They looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm done. I'm done pretending that you care about me. I'm done pretending that I'm part of this family in any meaningful way. I'm done waiting for you to notice me, to be proud of me, to choose me even once." "Emma, that's not fair," my mother protested. "We love you." "Do you? Then tell me, what do I do for work, Mom?" You work at a tech company in Boston." "Which one?" She faltered. I'm not sure. You told me, but..." "What's my job title?" Silence. "What's my salary?" "Emma, we don't need to know every, what did I major in at MIT?" More silence. "When was the last time you asked me about my life? Not to check if I was coming to some event for Lily? Not to tell me about something Lily did? When was the last time you called just to talk to me?" My father cleared his throat. "Emma, you've always been so independent. You never seemed to need..." "I was 14 years old when you decided I didn't need you anymore, Dad." 14, a child. "But Lily needed you more, so you gave her everything and told me to figure it out myself." "We did our best," my mother said quietly. "We tried to be fair." I laughed. It wasn't a kind sound. "Fair? You paid for Lily's $40,000 a year high school and told me I couldn't have money for MIT textbooks because the scholarship covered my tuition. You bought her an apartment in Manhattan and told me I should learn to budget better when I asked for help with a security deposit. You spent 4 hours celebrating her birthday at a fancy restaurant while I was stranded in a life-threatening situation at a train station." "We said we're sorry," my father said, his voice hardening. "What more do you want?" "I want you to understand that I don't need your sorry. I don't need anything from you anymore. I'm done." "You're being dramatic," Lily's voice came from the stairs. She'd apparently woken up and come down to listen. "So you had to wait in the cold for a few hours. Big deal. Get over it." I looked at my baby sister, the golden child who'd never been told no, never been denied, never had to work for anything in her life. In my previous life, I'd resented her but never quite blamed her. She was just living the life they'd given her. But now I saw her clearly, a spoiled, selfish young woman who'd been taught that the world revolved around her and that her sister's suffering was just an inconvenience. "You're right, Lily," I said calmly. "It's not a big deal. Just like it's not a big deal that Mom and Dad's company is failing. Just like it's not a big deal that they're hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. Just like it's not a big deal that they've mortgaged this house and your apartment to try to stay afloat." 3 faces went white. "How did you..." my father started. "I know lots of things, Dad. I know that Chen Development has about 6 months before bankruptcy. I know that you've been hiding the extent of your financial problems from each other." I looked at my mother. "Did you know he took out a second mortgage on this house without telling you, Mom? Or that he borrowed against his life insurance policy?" My mother's face crumbled. "Michael? I know that you've been putting Lily's tuition on credit cards at 22% interest," I continued. "I know that you're one lawsuit away from losing everything." "How do you know all this?" my father demanded. "Because I own your debt, Dad. I've spent the last 2 months buying it up from your creditors. As of yesterday, I am the primary holder of Chen Development's loans, Bisa." The silence was deafening. That's not possible," and my mother whispered. You're a kid. You work an entry-level job. You don't have that kind of money. I pulled out my phone and showed them my bank balance. $12 million, minus the amount I'd spent acquiring their debt. About $3 million. $9 million remained. I had a good year, I said simply. The app I developed was acquired for a significant sum. You developed an app? My father looked genuinely shocked. When? In college. You would know that if you'd ever asked about my life. If you'd ever bothered to attend even one of my presentations. If you'd read any of the emails I sent you about my projects. If you'd shown even a fraction of the interest in my achievements that you showed in Lily's recitals. Lily had gone pale. You own their debt? What does that mean? It means I can call it in any time I want. It means I can force them to sell everything to pay me back. This house, your apartment, Dad's cars, Mom's jewelry, all of it. You wouldn't, my mother breathed. Why wouldn't I? You left me to freeze to death for her. You've spent my entire life telling me I don't matter, that I need to be independent, that I should figure things out myself. Well, I did. I figured out how to be successful without you, and I figured out that you're not worth waiting for. So what? My father asked, his voice shaking with anger, or maybe fear. You're going to destroy us? You're going to take everything because we made you wait a few hours? This isn't about waiting a few hours, Dad. This is about 22 years of being invisible. This is about every time you chose her over me. Every time you missed my events for hers. Every time you gave her money and told me to work harder. Every time you made me feel like I was less important, less loved, less worthy of your time and attention. I stood up. But you know what? I'm not going to destroy you. That would require me to care enough about you to spend my energy on revenge. And I don't. I'm just done. Then what are you going to do? My mother asked, tears streaming down her face. I'm going to give you a choice. You can keep living the way you've been living, prioritizing Lily, spending money you don't have, pretending everything is fine while you sink deeper into debt. And when your creditors come calling, and they will, you'll lose everything. Your business, your house, your savings. All of it will be gone. You'll probably have to declare bankruptcy, which means your credit will be destroyed and you'll spend the next decade trying to rebuild. I paused, letting that sink in. Or you can accept my help. I'll restructure your debt with terms you can actually manage. I'll invest in Chen development and help you turn it around. I've learned a lot about business in the last 4 years. I'll make sure you can keep your house and your basic dignity. What's the catch? My father asked. The catch is that you have to choose. You can keep Lily's apartment and her lifestyle, or you can save your business and your house. You can't have both. You've been trying to have both for years, and it's destroying you. Lily stood up, her face red with fury. You can't make them choose between me and their business. That's cruel. Is it? Was it cruel when they made me choose between having their support and having my dignity? Was it cruel when they told me I had to be independent while you got by? Everything handed to you? That's different. I have dreams. I'm going to be a star. And I had dreams too, Lily. But I had to fight for every single one of them while you had yours gift wrapped. The difference is my dreams actually came true because I worked for them. She lunged at me. And I sidestepped her easily. My father grabbed her arm. Lily, stop. Make her take it back, Lily screamed. Make her give you back the debt. Tell her she has to help us without conditions. My mother was sobbing now. Emma, please. She's your sister. She's your daughter, I corrected. I'm just the disappointing one you left in the cold. I walked toward the door, then paused. You have 1 week to decide. After that, I'm calling in the debt, and you'll be at the mercy of bankruptcy court. Choose wisely. I left them there, my father silent and calculating, my mother crying, and Lily screaming obscenities at my back. The next week was illuminating. My mother called every day, begging me to reconsider, to just help them without conditions, to understand that they couldn't possibly choose between their business and Lily's dreams. Yes, you can, I told her every time. You just don't want to. My father tried a different approach. He invited me to lunch and spent 2 hours trying to convince me that his business was a good investment, that I'd make my money back and then some, that it was smart financial planning to help them. If it's such a good investment, Dad, you should have no problem with my terms. Lily tried guilt, then anger, then threats. She called me a terrible sister, a cold-hearted bitch, a selfish monster. She posted on her social media about how family should support each other unconditionally. Her friends, who knew nothing about the real situation, flooded my accounts with hateful messages. I documented all of them. Then, 3 days before my deadline, my Aunt Jennifer called. She was my father's older sister, and she'd always been kind to me in a distant way. Emma, your mother told me what's happening. Did she tell you the whole story or just her version? She told me you're demanding they choose between Lily's school and their business. She says you're being vindictive. Did she tell you they left me stranded in a blizzard for 4 hours, that I could have died? There was a long pause. She mentioned you had to wait. 4 hours, Aunt Jen, in below freezing weather. I posted about it on social media. You saw it, you commented. I had hypothermia when I got to the hotel. If I'd waited much longer, I could have had serious frostbite or worse. Oh, Emma. They've spent my entire life choosing Lily over me. Every single time. This isn't about one night. This is about 22 years of being told I don't matter as much as she does. My aunt sighed. I've watched it happen. I've tried to talk to your father about it, but he never listens. He says Lily needs more support, that you're naturally capable. Being capable doesn't mean I don't need love, Aunt Jen. It doesn't mean I should have to earn scraps of attention while she gets everything. I know, sweetheart. I know. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of everything you've accomplished, and I'm sorry your parents can't see how remarkable you are. I felt tears prick my eyes, the first real emotion I'd allowed myself to feel since this all started. Thank you. What are you going to do if they don't choose by your deadline? I'm going to call in the debt. They'll lose everything, and they'll have no one to blame but themselves. And if they do choose, then I'll help them. Not because I love them, I don't think I do anymore, but because I'm not cruel. I won't let them be homeless, but Lily will have to learn to support herself just like I did. She won't handle that well. That's not my problem. The deadline arrived. I sat in my hotel suite waiting for their call. It came at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before midnight. My father's voice was hollow. We'll accept your terms. Say it clearly, Dad. I need to hear you say it. We're pulling Lily out of her program. We're selling her apartment. We'll downsize our lifestyle and accept your investment in the business. And? A long pause. And we're sorry. We're sorry for the way we've treated you. Put Mom on the phone. I heard shuffling, then my mother's voice, thick with tears. Emma? Tell me the truth, Mom. If you could have both, if money wasn't an issue, would you still choose me even once? Would you ever put me first? The silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. I'll have my lawyer send over the paperwork tomorrow. You'll keep the house, but you'll downsize to something more manageable within 6 months. The business restructuring will take time, but if you follow my team's recommendations, you can be profitable again within 2 years. Lily will need to get a job and find her own apartment. She's still in school, my mother protested weakly. So was I. I worked 3 jobs, she can work 1. I hung up. The next few months were brutal for them, I heard through the family grapevine. Lily had to leave her program and move back home. She got a job waiting tables and ranted on social media about how unfair life was, how her cruel sister had destroyed her dreams. Several of her friends came to her defense online, but then someone, I suspect Aunt Jennifer, posted a comprehensive breakdown of exactly how much my parents had spent on Lily versus how much they'd spent on me over the years. The numbers were staggering. Over $500,000 on Lily's education, housing, and expenses, less than $10,000 total on mine. The narrative shifted quickly after that. Suddenly, I wasn't the cruel sister. I was the one who'd been horribly mistreated. Think pieces started appearing on social media about parental favoritism and the long-term effects of golden child scapegoat dynamics. Lily's thus the social media defending became fuel for a wider conversation, and she found herself on the wrong side of public opinion. She eventually deleted all her accounts. My parents sold their large house and bought a modest 3-bedroom ranch. My father went back to working full-time in the business instead of semi-retired. My mother got a job for the first time in 20 years. Chen Development began to recover under the management team I'd hired. Slowly, painfully, but surely. And me? I moved to San Francisco. I started my own venture capital firm focusing on investing in companies founded by women and people of color who'd been overlooked by traditional investors. I wanted to fund people like me, people who'd had to fight for everything, who'd been told they weren't enough, who'd proven everyone wrong. My firm became wildly successful. Within 3 years, I'd turned my $12 million into $80 million. Within 5 years, I was worth over $200 million. I bought a beautiful house in Pacific Heights. I traveled the world. I donated generously to causes I cared about: scholarships for first-generation college students, programs for homeless youth, support groups for survivors of family abuse. I built a life that was entirely mine, filled with people who chose me first, who valued me, who saw me. I never went home again. Oh, my parents called sometimes. Awkward conversations where they asked how I was doing and I gave vague, pleasant answers. They never apologized for anything beyond that one night. Apparently, in their minds, saving their business from my vindictiveness was punishment enough. Lily eventually found work in community theater. She was talented enough to have a decent career, just not the Broadway stardom she'd dreamed of. She never contacted me directly, but I heard through relatives that she blamed me for ruining her life. I didn't care. 5 years after that frozen night at the train station, I was invited to speak at MIT's graduation ceremony. I talked about resilience, about building success from nothing, about the importance of knowing your worth even when the people who should love you refuse to see it. My parents weren't there. I hadn't invited them. But Aunt Jennifer was, sitting in the front row, crying with pride. After the ceremony, as I was leaving, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 21, nervous, clutching a copy of the speech I'd just given. "Ms. Chen, I just wanted to thank you. I'm a first-year student, and I'm here on one of the scholarships your foundation funded. My family, they're like yours. They have a golden child, and it's not me. Reading about your story, hearing you speak today, it made me feel less alone." I took her hand. "You're not alone, and you're going to do amazing things. Don't wait for them to see it. Build it anyway." She hugged me, and I let her, feeling something warm and healing in my chest. This was what I'd built from the ashes of that frozen night, not revenge. I'd learned that revenge was just another form of waiting for them to care. No, I'd built something better, a life where I didn't need them at all. 10 years after that night, I received a wedding invitation. Lily was getting married to someone she'd met in community theater. The invitation was formal, expensive, and clearly her style. At the bottom, in my mother's handwriting, was a note: "We hope you'll come. It would mean so much to Lily, to all of us." I RSVP'd no, but I did send a gift, a donation to a charity in Lily's name, supporting first-generation college students. The card read, "Congratulations on your wedding. I hope you find happiness." I meant it. I didn't wish ill on any of them anymore. I just didn't wish to be part of their lives. 2 weeks after Lily's wedding, my Aunt Jennifer called me. "Your father had a heart attack. He's in the hospital." I flew home, not to the town where I grew up, but to the small city where my parents now lived in their modest ranch house. I went to the hospital. My father looked old, only 58, but the stress of the past decade had aged him. My mother sat beside his bed looking equally worn. They both looked up when I entered. My mother's eyes filled with tears. "Emma, you came." Aunt Jen called. "Thank you for coming," my father said quietly. His voice was weak. "I wasn't sure you would." "I'm not cruel, Dad. I never was." He nodded slowly. I know, we were. We were cruel to you, and we never properly apologized. I waited. I'm sorry, he said, and this time his voice broke. I'm sorry for all of it. For every time we chose Lily over you. For leaving you at that station. For making you feel like you didn't matter. You did matter. You do matter. We failed you, Emma. We failed you as parents, and I'm sorry. My mother was sobbing. I'm sorry, too. I'm so, so sorry. You were remarkable, and we never saw it. We took you for granted because you were strong, and that was wrong. That was so wrong. I looked at these two people who'd given me life, but never quite given me love. At least not the way I'd needed it. I felt, not forgiveness exactly, but something like peace. I believe you're sorry, I said. I believe you finally understand what you did. But I need you to understand something too. I'm not here to absolve you. I'm not here to say it's okay, or that we can go back to being a family. That ship sailed a long time ago. We know, my father whispered. I'm here because you're a human being in pain, and I have the capacity for compassion, even when you didn't. I'm here because I'm not going to become you. I'm not going to abandon family in their time of need just because they hurt me. But I'm not staying. After you're stable, I'm going back to my life, a life you're not part of. My mother reached for my hand. Could we ever be part of it? I looked down at her hand, the hand that had once tucked me in at night, before Lily came and everything changed. I don't know, Mom. Maybe someday. But not now. Now, I need to keep living the life I built without you. The life where I matter. The life where I'm loved first, not last. I stayed 3 days until my father was stable and transferred to a regular room. I made sure they had everything they needed, that their insurance was handling the bills, that someone was coming to help them at home. Then I went back to San Francisco. 15 years after that frozen night at the train station, I was featured in Forbes' Self-Made Women issue. The article detailed my journey from overlooked daughter to venture capital success story. It mentioned my family only briefly. Chen overcame significant personal challenges, including a difficult family dynamic that taught her the value of self-reliance. The reporter had asked if I wanted to elaborate. I'd declined. Some stories are just fuel for the fire, I'd said. You burn them up and use the heat to forge something better. On the day the issue came out, I received an email from Lily. It was the first time she'd contacted me directly in over a decade. I read your article, it said. You made us sound like monsters. Mom cried for hours. I almost deleted it without responding, but something made me write back. I made you sound exactly like what you were. If Mom cried, maybe it's because she finally understood what she did. That's not my problem to fix. Her response came quickly. Don't you think you've punished us enough? You're rich and successful. We've lost everything. When does it end? I stared at that email for a long time. Then I typed, You didn't lose everything, Lily. You lost an apartment you didn't pay for and a lifestyle you didn't earn. You still have Mom and Dad. You still have their love and attention and priority. You still have everything I never had. The difference is now you have to work for the material things like I always did. That's not punishment. That's just equality. And if it feels like punishment to you, that tells me everything I need to know about how unfair things always were. I added, I never wanted to punish you. I wanted to stop being invisible. I wanted to matter. And when I finally proved that I could matter to myself, to the world, I stopped needing you to see it. That's not revenge. That's survival. That's healing. I paused, then finished. I hope you're happy, Lily. I genuinely do. I hope you find fulfillment in your work and your marriage. I hope someday you understand what it feels like to be truly seen and valued. But I can't be the one to teach you that. I can't be the one to make you understand. I've spent enough of my life waiting for this family to see me. I'm done waiting. I hit send and blocked her email address. Now, at 37 years old, I sit in my home office overlooking the San Francisco Bay. My company just closed a $500 million fund. I've been named to several most influential lists. I've been invited to join corporate boards, to advise startups, to speak at conferences around the world. My life is full of people who choose me, friends who show up when I need them, partners who celebrate my successes, mentees who value my guidance. I've dated, I've loved, I've built relationships based on mutual respect and genuine care. I think sometimes about that girl standing at the train station, 14 years old in one life and 22 in another, waiting in the cold for people who would never come. I think about how much time I wasted waiting to be seen, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be enough. And I think about the moment I decided to stop waiting. That was the moment everything changed. Not when I made my money, not when I bought their debt, not when I forced them to choose. Those were just consequences. The real moment was when I understood that I didn't need them to value me in order for me to have value, that I could walk away from the cold and into the warmth I created for myself. Last month, my mother called. She calls every few months now, and I usually answer. We have brief, surface-level conversations. She asks about my work. I ask about her health. Neither of us mentions the past. But this time, she said something different. Emma, I want you to know something. I'm proud of you. I should have said it 1,000 times before, but I'm saying it now. I'm proud of who you've become, and I'm sorry it took me so long to tell you. I felt something crack in my chest. Not breaking open, but maybe breaking through. Thank you, Mom, I said quietly. That means something. Does it mean enough for you to come home for Christmas? It's been 15 years. I looked out my window at the bay, at the life I'd built, at the home I'd made. No, I said gently, it doesn't mean that, not yet. Maybe not ever, but it means something. She was quiet for a long moment. I understand. I just want you to know that we love you. We always did. We just didn't show it the way you needed. I know, Mom, but love without action is just words. And I spent too much of my life waiting for the actions to match the words. After we hung up, I sat in the fading afternoon light and let myself feel it all. The hurt, the anger, the grief for the family I never really had, and the gratitude for the life I'd built in its place. I didn't need them to apologize anymore. I didn't need them to finally see me. I didn't need them at all. And that wasn't sad. That was freedom. I'd stopped waiting in the cold 15 years ago, and I'd been warm ever since. The story of my life wasn't about revenge or punishment. It wasn't about making them suffer or proving them wrong. It was about a girl who learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away from people who don't value you, even when they're family, especially when they're family. It was about learning that you don't have to wait for anyone to choose you. You can choose yourself. And once you do that, once you truly internalize that you are enough all on your own, the world opens up in ways you never imagined. I built an empire from the cold. I created warmth from abandonment. I turned their neglect into fuel that powered a life beyond anything they could have given me if they'd tried. They left me waiting in the cold for her. I never waited for them again, and I've never been warmer.